Brother and lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal Podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to be diving into the latest around Arsenal. Mikel Arteta has been asked about Arsenal transfers and he said, we have to invest because next season is going to be the toughest season in the history of the Premier League. We're going to be diving into that. Do you think next season is going to be the toughest in the Premier League history? According to Mikel Arteta, that is what it's going to be. Liverpool are trying to sign players. Manchester United are strengthening. Arsenal are strengthening. And Manchester City will want to defend their treble. Is it going to be the biggest Premier League campaign ever? We're going to be talking about Romeo Lavia as well, Jurrien Timber, and the 5-year deal that Arsenal are offering him, up to 100,000 per week. That is what we are hearing. We'll also be talking about the need for a striker because the debate is coming up. Could and should Arsenal sign a striker in the event that we lose Florin Balogun and Eddie Nketiah in the summer? And the big question is, if Eddie leaves and Balogun also is sold, which name do you think should pop up on our radar in terms of a striker? Now, we've thought about forwards. Moussa Diaby is one of the names that we've talked about. We've talked about a few strikers that are not actually appealing, including, I think, was it Sanabria, something like that. But anyway, in the comment box below, talk to me. Which name do you think Arsenal should be looking at in the event that we lose Eddie Nketiah and Florin Balogun? And also, do you agree with Mikel Arteta that next season is going to be the toughest in the history of the Premier League? Let's get this video to 500 likes and let's dive into the content. Now, let's start off with the Romeo Lavia update because I've been looking at Ryan Taylor on Ryan Taylor Sport, giving us an update on this one. It says, I know they've been discussing personal terms with his agent and Romeo Lavia, who would be 100% to join Arsenal at the moment. So personal terms have been discussed. The player is 100% open to joining Arsenal, like I reported yesterday. And he says it does look like there will be concrete interest from Arsenal, but at this moment in time, the price tag will have to drop. It says, I think the issue with Southampton is that they have their valuation, that their valuation has been clouded by the fact that Chelsea offered 50 million last August and City have that 40 million pound buyback clause that activates in 2024 for Romeo Lavia. So that is according to Brian Taylor on Romeo Lavia. It says at the moment, player is 100% open to joining Arsenal. Personal terms are being discussed between Arsenal, the agent, and Romeo Lavia. But at the moment, the price tag will have to drop. And I really do agree with him. I think Arsenal signing Declan Rice in that midfield, we will have to go with another cheaper signing rather than another, expensive signing. I don't see Arsenal spend over 100 million on Declan Rice, and then we go and spend half of that on a player who's not even going to be starting for Arsenal every single week. Now, no, don't get me wrong. It is absolutely healthy for you to have squad depth. It is absolutely healthy for you to have players that can replace each other directly. It's one thing I love about Manchester City and their squad. When you replace Kevin De Bruyne and you bring on Phil Foden, he absolutely wins you the UCL, and he absolutely won them the UCL. So I think Arsenal, that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build that mega team that Mikel Arteta was talking about with the marker. And he says, I want to build that big team that can win trophies. But of course, you've got to think about the budget. You've got to think about how much money can you spend. With Romeo Lavia, I think, look, I don't think it will go below 40 million, but I also don't think it will go above 50 million. It's going to be in between there. Southampton will want a compromise, obviously, from the side of Arsenal so that we can overpay. And Arsenal will also be hoping to get a compromise from Southampton as well. So that one is progressing very well. Player 100%, on joining Arsenal. No problems with that. Personal terms are in discussions. And of course, if we get an agreement, I'll be the first guy to let you know. And at the moment, Arsenal will be looking to get that price drop by Southampton. Right, let's also talk about Jurrien Timber for a second before we get into the big discussions around the striker and also whether next season is going to be the biggest as quoted by Mikel Arteta. There is a big update on Jurrien Timber. Arsenal have reportedly given him a 5-year deal, offered him a 5-year deal worth £85,000 guaranteed, rising up to £100,000 per week, to sign for Arsenal. Now, I've seen a few reactions here and there that probably doesn't deserve it. Probably it is too much. And I also fear for our wage bill. But the fact that we are, offering these crazy contracts, 100, 200, 300, it really highlights the way, Arsenal's transformed and the way we've got better in terms of financial strength, in terms of that ability to pay contracts over a longer period of time, and huge contracts, really. Because we have, for me, we have two players that are earning 300k. That is Saka and Declan Rice. We will have, of course, we have Partey earning 200. We have Gabriel Jesus on, I think, at around 250,000. Alexander Zinchenko should be very close there as well. So if you bring in Romeo Lavia, and not Lavia, but Jurrien Timber, and you give him 100,000, it means that Arsenal have taken a great step in terms of our financial stability. And they feel it is sustainable. They feel this is the right move to do, and there is nothing wrong with giving players 100,000. I think we really had a problem with Arsenal in the last years, maybe like a decade, where you could lose very good players. And Arsene Wenger talked about this when he was talking about Ashley Cole, Sami Nasri, Cesc Fabregas, and all those other players. There are times when we lost players, very good players that are very important to the establishment, to the side. And the reason was just a couple of bags on top of their wages, especially Ashley Cole. Because Arsene Wenger, I still remember Wenger saying that one of his greatest regrets in football is letting Ashley Cole go. Because it was only a matter of small pennies that he actually wanted as an increment. And Arsenal decided, we are not going to give you that. You've got to go. Now, of course, during that time, we had that Emirates Stadium project ongoing. We couldn't afford big wages. We couldn't afford buying players for very high prices. And then also still, during the same time, Arsenal financially was not as strong as we are now. I want to tell you something. We have one of the most expensive season tickets, and we have one of the biggest Premier League, capacities. Right? I think it's around 60,600 seaters, the Emirates Stadium. So, look, it's a big jump from the Highbury to the Emirates Stadium, and the ticket prices that are absolutely crazy, and our merchandise that is also absolutely crazy. And the fact that we're now back in the UEFA Champions League, all we've got to do is make it a bare minimum for us to qualify every single season, okay? And everything will be all right. So, Jurrien Timber, the contract is on his table. 5-year deal, 85,000 guaranteed, rising to £100,000 per week. Right. So let's get into the discussions. Let's start off with Mikel Arteta's, notion, or probably belief, that next season is going to be the hardest Premier League and toughest Premier League season ever in the history of the game. Now, listen. I think everyone is really excited about next season. It might disappoint, but it is very highly likely that it will not. And you look at managers like, Pep, you look at managers like Jurgen Klopp, you look at managers like Mauricio Pochettino, you look at the quality of managers next season, there is something to be scared of, right? There is something to really be scared of. And I think I've already seen this with Bournemouth. They have sacked a manager in O'Neill who actually guaranteed them safety last campaign without even giving him a chance to prove what he can do next season. They've just sacked him. They've told him, listen, you've done a very good job to keep us in the Premier League. At the moment, we don't think you are the next step. I think everyone knows, and everyone is looking at this Premier League season and is like, how do we get our ambitions fulfilled? Because the managers that are going to be in that season, I think we will have the best collection of managers in the world in one league. Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, Erik ten Hag, Ange Postecoglou at Spurs, Mauricio Pochettino now at Chelsea, Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool. You have Unai Emery at Aston Villa. I don't know. I just think even if it comes to the relegation zone, the relegation battle, if Everton are going to be around the relegation battle with Sean Dyche, we know how quality he is as a manager. You're not just going to go to the Goodson Park and pick up 3 points and walk away. It's not going to be that easy. And you look at Newcastle and what they're building and their manager as well. Eddie Howe is such a very, very good tactician, a very good manager. So I kind of agree with Mikel Arteta here that the quality of the Premier League has definitely risen. But I have a reason to doubt whether next season is going to be the toughest. And this is my reason. I think every new manager will have to take a season, a full season, to understand the dynamics of their squad. I also think that clubs like Liverpool, Chelsea, and Tottenham are really being given a lot of credit than they deserve. I don't see why everyone thinks that Liverpool are going to be back next season as a sure-deal. Surely they will be back. There's no question about that. But there is no guarantee. There are no guarantees. Even if they went to the market and bought like 100 players or 200 players, the quality will rise. But I don't think it's a guarantee that they will be back in the conversation of top 3 and the title. It's the same thing with Chelsea. Chelsea will not have any European football next season, but that doesn't guarantee anything. And Mauricio Pochettino also coming into the side does not guarantee anything. I just think next season is just a preparatory stage. But where I agree with Mikel is it's going to be a season. It's going to be a window where that is your last opportunity. If you're Manchester City and you want to defend the Premier League back to back to back, that is your last opportunity. I don't see Manchester City dominating the Premier League again after next season. If you're Arsenal and you're not really sure whether your project is right, that is the season where you go, we will win the Premier League and we will instill discipline in this squad. We will instill a winning mentality in this squad, right? I think that is what's going to make that season very difficult. The urge and the opportunism from every side to go, this is my season, starting next season is going to be very, very difficult. But anyway, the quality is going to be there. Everyone is spending. Let's wait and see if Mikel Arteta is right about this one. I also wanted us to talk about the departure of Eddie Nketiah and Florian Balogun and whether that opens up a window where Arsenal should be signing a new forward, especially a striker, but also to add to the abilities of Gabriel Jesus. Well, if you follow the Spanish La Liga, Madrid have just signed a striker called Joselu, and that could give us some kind of, I don't know, maybe confidence that you could win the Premier League or the La Liga or the UCL with a guy called Joselu. If Madrid have done it, with the level of experience they have in winning the UCL, they're really convinced Joselu will do it, right? But I think with Balogun leaving and with Eddie Nketiah leaving, which actually leaves a very big gap in the Arsenal squad, I think we should be thinking about a high-profile striker. I think we should be thinking about a Lautaro Martinez. I think we should be thinking about maybe a Jonathan David. Now, we've been linked with a few players like Elie Wahi and all these ones, and I just don't understand why Arsenal don't just go for a prolific striker. I'm not saying an expensive signing. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying a prolific striker. Like Ivan Toney. I don't know how much Ivan Toney would cost, but if Ivan Toney was available, that is the striker I'm talking about. If Oli Watkins is available, that is the kind of striker I'm talking about. And if I'm going to just name one player that Arsenal should sign and definitely keep their eyes on, it could have been Marcus Thuram. Free agent, very good player. Is a France international. Now he's going to Inter Milan, of course. But he's one player that we should have looked at. The fact that Arsenal don't even have interest in a striker frightens me. I know we have options. Emile Smith-Rowe can play there. Jesus is there. Trossard can play there. Martinelli has played there before. And Kai Havertz, of course, can play there. But I think the striker situation could be a curse that Arsenal talk about next season. That if we had a striker, I think in every single season that Arsenal have won the league, we've had a good striker. In every single season that we've come close to winning the league, apart from last season, we had a prolific striker. We've had a prolific striker. So for me, I think Arsenal should go for someone that is really capable of scoring goals. The problem is I don't have in my memory one player that has been so good at scoring goals, and Arsenal have bought him on a cheap deal. Like, I think the only one I can remember is Olivier Giroud. Yeah, that's the last player we've signed, and he's kind of worked out as a striker. The rest of the players have been really mediocre. But you remember when we had Henry and then Adebayo? I think we should do something like that. We should do something very, very similar. I can't name names at the moment. I don't have, names on my fingertips. Marcus Thuram is the player I've been trying to follow whole summer. Where is he going to go? AC Milan, Inter Milan. AC looked like they signed him, and then Inter Milan stole him. But I think it's a very big question that if you lose Eddie and Florian Balogun, we should sign a striker who is an upgrade on both of them. I don't want to see Arsenal losing Balogun and Eddie Nketiah, and then we sign Chris Wood, right, just for backup, or Wout Weghorst, like what Manchester United did. That is not the road I hope we travel. I hope we go and sign a very accomplished striker. Probably maybe could be overrated, underrated, but as long as they have established themselves as goal scorers, okay. There is a very, very interesting name at RB Leipzig. Of course, I don't like players from Germany, but Timo Werner. If you went and got Timo Werner and brought him at Arsenal, yeah, I know he's failed at Chelsea as well. I think it would be a very good backup to Gabriel Jesus. And I think the profile of Werner and Jesus do not actually move parallel. They actually move in tandem. So in my opinion, a player like Timo Werner, a player like the way we had Adebayo would definitely work very, very well. As long as we don't get Yaya Sanogo or Bentina, we will be absolutely all right. So let me know in the comment box below. Should and could Arsenal go and sign a striker in this summer with Eddie and Florian Balogun leaving?